Every business you admire started as a bet, a leap, a late night, a decision someone almost did not make. And somewhere in this county, that bet is being placed right now. Welcome to Loudon Forward. The landscape is shifting. Industries are lifting and falling in the same breath. The question is not whether change is coming. The question is whether you will be ready when it lands. On this show, you will hear the real story behind the revenue, the pivot that saved the company, the lesson that costs too much to learn the hard way on your own. Whether you're 10 years in or 10 days out of a layoff, you are in the right place. This is Loudon Forward. Let's get into it. Welcome to Loudon Forward. Today in the studio with me, I have a special guest, and I would like for her to introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. Or hi, Toye. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
I'm Erica Bourne, the founder of Erica Bourne Consulting.
So we're going to jump very much and very quickly and very fast into your business story. Before you started this business, or before we talk about business fully, take me to the moment this became real for you. When, what happened?
Oh my gosh. So much happened. It's one of those things where, when people finally see like the picture of what happened, it's like it's been in the making for a long time. For me, I wanted to start a business for a long time. I actually had a nonprofit business some years ago. I knew I wanted to go back into being a business owner, a for-profit business owner. And so working on my job.
What was the nonprofit about?
Oh, well, the nonprofit, it was a organization for single professional Christians. And it was just really teaching. We had speakers, we had events, we had an annual retreat. And so it was an educational nonprofit, really teaching people like life skills and that sort of type of thing. So
that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So let's get back to the question. When did your business, your current business, become? When did you realize that this is actually real?
Yeah, I mean, just being in full transparency, it was when I was ready to leave my job.
Okay. So was it a sink or swim type situation? I'm going all the way in.
Yeah, in a way. I always had it, like I said, in the back of my head that I was going to leave and start my own business. But it was like a lot of different things came together. I was disappointed in where my career trajectory was going. I was a federal employee, and so we had the new administration came in, and then there was a ton of buyouts and all kinds of things that, those brought into the picture. So I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to use this to my advantage and as an opportunity for me to leave. And so I took the fork, I took that, the deferred resignation program, and I left and I resigned from my job. And so in that in-between gray period, I was able to expedite building the early stages of the business. And so it was actually helpful for me. It was a hard time for a lot of people, but, and for me, it was scary, but I still use that opportunity as leverage.
Interesting. So can you tell us a bit more about, or should I say, let me edit myself there. So what were you doing right before this business became inevitable? You talked about you're a federal worker. Do you want to talk a bit more about that, or is it something that we could skip over?
Oh, I don't care. I mean, it's a part of my story, At the end of the day, it's, hopefully I can inspire others. What was I doing right before I made the leap? So I was working for the CIA. That was my former employer, and just really got to a point where I just felt like I'm working really hard. I'm putting in a lot of effort. I'm putting in a lot of brain power. I had put in a lot of hours. I made a lot of sacrifices. And quite frankly, I just wasn't being valued. That's my truth. And so I said to myself, I'm not a stranger to hard work. I'm not a stranger to, taking risks. And if I'm going to work this hard, I might as well work hard towards something that's mine and something that I enjoy doing and something that's going to lead to fulfillment. Right. And so that made sense to me. And that's when I said, you know what, it's time for me to just take this leap.
So what's a small business thing that reliably spikes your stress level? I mean, you've talked about stepping out into entrepreneurship. Uh, I'm assuming this is your first time being an entrepreneur and relying on making money to survive outside a salary.
Yep.
All right. So, what are some of the small, if there are any, small business things that reliably spikes your stress levels?
I don't think any of it's small, right? I think it's, you don't know what you don't know. When you've been corporate for over 20 years, like I was, having that professional experience, you don't know what this other world is like. It's like stepping into like this alien world where, you have to learn the language, you have to learn how to, survive the terrain, those various different things. And so, you don't know what you don't know. And that in and of itself is scary, right? For me, I think that, keeping a positive perspective really helped a lot. Using a lot of the people skills that I developed, working in a political landscape actually was very helpful.
Mhm.
And then also finding out that there's way more help out there than most people think. That really opened my eyes, the Economic Development Office, SBA, various different, groups and organizations and other businesses themselves really are willing to step in and, help each other out. And that was surprising. I had no idea that that was a thing.
That's absolutely great. And that's also been my experience in this area, which is very cool. People are willing to step up and step out there to help you and just take a chance. So, um, we're still talking about you as an entrepreneur, and I love talking to um, first-time entrepreneurs because it's it's quite interesting to try and figure out your emotional state, your psychological state, because many times, especially when you go to business meetings, everybody's got their script down. I'm such and such, I do such and such, and and it sounds big and nice, and everybody's in their suits and whatnot. But sometimes, it's good not just for other entrepreneurs to know, but even people who are thinking about going into entrepreneurship to understand some of the internal processes that go on in an entrepreneur. So I want to ask this question. This leads me to this question. What do you become when you're tired? Minimalist, perfectionist, an avoider, a controller, or none of these? But do you understand the direction of
When
the
I'm
question?
tired,
When you're tired,
ooh,
do you become minimalist? Do you become a perfectionist? Do you become an avoider or controller?
that's tough.
Yeah.
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
I think I seesaw somewhere between a minimalist and a controller, quite possibly.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is because when I have the things I want to accomplish for the day, there's the core things that are, I definitely have to do this today or it's going to throw off the rest of the week. And then there's the things where it's like, it'd be nice if I do this today, but I always give myself wiggle room, right? Like, it's like if it falls off, it's fine, right? And so it's somewhere between that. So if I get to that point where I'm tired, I have to like analyze it. If there's something I really need to get done, I'll push myself, and just really get those things done. And I try not to get to that point because it's just frustrating, right? But I also have grace for myself and I understand like I'm a human. I can't do everything. I'll get to it when I get to it, and it'll get done, right? So I almost like rationalize with myself where I'm at for the day.
Interesting. I like that. So what's one thing you had to unlearn? What's one belief you had to unlearn to grow this business, if there was any?
There were a lot.
Okay, tell me.
A whole lot. I mean,
Okay.
my gosh. Yeah, just, like I said, 20 plus years and just the corporate 9 to 5, working all of that and then moving into entrepreneurship. Oh my goodness. There's just so many. It's like going from, you know, rules and regulations and a culture and having to figure out how to navigate that and the unwritten rules and the unwritten things, right? To the wild, wild west, right? Where there's like 50 ways to get to like a certain destination and, you just have to kind of figure it out, right? And so one of the biggest things I had to learn was just like having the flexibility, um, allowing myself to have the flexibility. I had to unlearn that every little thing that you do is not judged the same. There's no promotion criteria. There's no performance criteria. There's none of those like, I have to climb the ladder, so I have to, appear to be this way to someone else. I think the biggest thing I had to unlearn really was I could truly just show up and be myself, and I had to own who I was really, and leave the, you know, it was like judgment free type of thing. I mean, you're still getting judged. You still want to present yourself in a way, but I wanted to present myself in a way that is 100% authentic to who I am without fear of all the corporate stuff and corporate culture and the toxic corporate world, right? And so,
Do you still get like flashbacks or you find yourself acting as if you're working within the corporate world? Or do you think you've actually outlived that? You've outgrown that is what I mean to say.
no, I mean, I still have PTSD moments from that situation. And I had to tell myself, like, Erica, there's no performance review here. Like, there's no boss. There's nobody saying, that's not true. And what you think, it's like no one's trying to speak for you. No one's trying to shove you into a box, right? And if they are, you don't have to work with them. You could say no, right? And so, yeah, I still have moments. There's still some, you know, healing and transition stuff that has to take place. So,
Nice. So if your business could talk, what would it thank you for and complain about?
man, it'd probably really complain to me a lot.
Well, what would it complain about?
Probably how many times I've like pivoted and kind of shifted. I'm, just trying to find, my place. I think one of the mindset shifts is like, how do I take my title and all the things I did in corporate and turn it into a business, right? And it's not like a one-to-one match, right? So really filling out, where do you fit from a business perspective, which is what I help a lot of business owners with now, right? Is like, where do I fit as a business? How do I take these skills and turn it into who I am, how I want to represent myself as a business? And I've done it so many times. I've done all these micro pivots, with my business. I feel like every time I show up at a networking event or something, my pitch changes like every single time. I just try to do it impromptu. So I would say that's probably what my business would complain about was like, oh my God, can we just stay somewhere, long enough? And then what it would be thankful for, I would say, which is going back to the question before, is just being myself. And the more I allow myself to just be and, not stress out over like all the little things, right, that used to stress me out before, and just relaxing and, working with my clients and really like understanding like their story, where they come from, and enjoying what I do for like the first time in a long time in my life. It's total fulfillment, and I'm glad that I can represent that in my business.
Absolutely lovely. I like that. I like that. So we're going to shift gears slightly and I'm going to be asking you some interesting, maybe a little more personal questions.
Oh no. These are all ready? Very good.
So, what's a boundary you learned the hard way with this business?
A boundary I learned to have with this business?
What's the boundary you learned the hard way?
A boundary I learned the hard way.
Or I could rephrase that and say, were there any boundaries you needed to learn?
Um, Honestly, I think I'm more so learning to take down boundaries
Hmm. Okay,
and to put
tell me
them
a
up.
bit more about that.
I mean, coming from a stringent, environment, coming from federal government, it's like there's boundaries everywhere, right? And for the first time, I'm operating outside of the box, like understanding like, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? There's multiple different ways to like get to your goal, right? It's you're as successful as you are creative, so I'm learning to take boundaries down, actually.
Nice. That's a very interesting perspective. I kind of like it, but I can see it. I can see
Mhm.
that. So, who do you call when you need courage, not advice?
Man, courage. I would say I pray.
Okay.
Like like, I call on God when I need courage. And it's interesting because, a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on courage. Yes, this takes a lot of courage, but what people need to realize is that fear is a requirement for courage, right?
Hmm.
And so there are times that it's scary, right? There are times where, like I don't know what's gonna happen next week, right? Like I don't know, but it takes courage to face those moments. And so understanding that um it's all a part of the same thing.
Mm. So, what kind of support works for you? Is it practical, emotional, strategic, or just a quiet presence?
I am a very literal, logical person. So I like tangible support. Like, hey, what's the plan? I suppose strategist. What's the strategy? What are we gonna do? Like, the emotional stuff. It's good, to a point, to an extent. Then after a while, I'm like, okay, now what are we gonna do? And so for me, I need practical support.
Nice. So, what keeps you in the game when the numbers aren't cooperating?
When the numbers aren't cooperating, what keeps me in the game? My faith,
Hmm.
100%. Knowing that I just know that I'm in my element, right? And having faith and understanding like I'm where I'm supposed to be, no matter what's going on around me, I can just be still until
Hmm.
it's time for me to move. So it keeps me there. There's no going back.
This kind of reminds me of, I learned this a long time ago, and it's kind of baked into my mentality.
Okay.
Uh, it's the idea that uh, if I see a mountain in front of me, uh, and I need to get to the other side, so I'll go around it. If I can't go around it, I'll go over it. If I can't go over it, I'll go through it. If I
Mhm.
can't go through it, I'll go under it. If I can't go under it, I'll carry it and get to that destination. But I am getting there.
Exactly.
And that's kind of what I sense from what you were saying. That
Mhm.
it's like, yes, um, I have faith. There's no going back.
That's right.
You know, we
Mhm.
we we bumped the boat.
Yeah.
There's
You
no.
have to make it up in your mind, like,
Yeah.
this is it. We're going forward and that's it, right? Like, there isn't, there might be times where you gotta like crawl, there might be times where you're dragging yourself, but we're still moving
Still
forward.
move forward.
We're still gonna get there.
That's a great attitude. Love it. So, what's a moment that you were proud that had nothing to do with revenue within your business that you were proud of?
Um, Once I fully wrapped my head around like my brand and like what it represented, I was like, oh, this is me. That's what I look like to the world. Like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then really seeing the responses that I got to that, I realized like, okay, check, I accomplished that.
I like it. What does community mean to you in Loudon? Who showed up for you?
Oh man, that's a good one. Community means so much to me, as you know, like it. I feel like it's just the heartbeat of everything. And I'm especially grateful that, I'm in an area. Loudoun County's been really good to me. Being here and being a business owner here. like we said earlier, there's so many people that are just super supportive. Um,
Can you share one story?
oh my goodness. Yes. I was like, I have a couple like just connections. Like, I mentioned the economic development office and, working there and just, you know, sitting down with I sat down with Jennifer and she was amazing. We talked about my business initially. And then after that, she just remembered me. And I was just like, wow, and introduced me to other business owners in the area. And then those other business owners introduced me to other business owners. And I'm just like, this is really nice, right? I mean, the chamber's really good. Like, it's just, people they genuinely mean well. And I think, you get what you give off, and just being a person of integrity and being a person that genuinely wants to help other people, you get that in return. And I received that, from this county. Everyone's been really great.
Shout out to Jennifer. I spoke with her too. She was quite helpful.
Mm-hmm.
With shifting gear to services and superpowers.
Okay.
All right. And we want to know what your superpowers are. So if your business was a shortcut, what problem does it erase for people?
I would say it's a shortcut, definitely a shortcut for saving time and money in figuring out what the needs are, what the problems are before you actually try to figure out the solutions.
Okay.
I think a lot of business owners, they go by what's shiny or they'll go by what people are telling them or the first things on the market because they have FOMO, right? They're just like, okay, I got to hurry and get this latest thing before everybody else gets it because I want to be the first one to get it without even knowing if it solves a problem that they have, right?
Okay.
And that's not even just true for buying a product. That's also true in techniques, right? How they market their business, how they want to brand themselves. And, like I said earlier, it's the wild, wild west, right? So you can go in so many different directions, but just being able to have a strategist, and being able to have a strategic business partner that's like, yes, we could do all these things, but let's focus on this one right here. Let's figure out what the actual problem is, and then we can focus on that one next, right? And that saves so much time and potentially money, saves effort, and a lot of headache and heartache for businesses.
Can you think of a story of someone you did this for, or even if it's just an anecdote? I can't say words anymore. Anecdote.
We know what you meant.
Someone's be like, what did you just say then? Anecdote.
Anecdote. It's a weird word.
Yeah, I know.
Let's blame the nerd. Be a weird word.
Yes.
Of that situation. Oh boy, let's see. I have a lot of different stories. I think one of the things I do is just really, helping people think through things. So, a good example I can think of is, I have a client, who's transitioning from their 9-to-5 job into entrepreneurship, and she's developing her business, right? And she's an amazing client. She's probably she's one of the best clients I have because she's a go-getter like you, really good at, you just point the direction to go at and she will go, right? There's no apprehension. There's not fear. It's just I'm going to go get it done. Just let me know what I need to do. But the question mark, like it is for a lot of people, is what direction should I go in? And so we started literally from scratch and the type of business that she should form. And once we kind of figured it out, her mixture of skills and kind of sitting down and figuring out with her business plan, it was how should she show up from a branding standpoint. And so we spent a lot of time, and I spent a lot of time explaining the psychology behind your brand and how you show up, right? She had an initial design, initial plan, and I was just like, okay, I'm just going to tell you how people will perceive this and the psychology behind it and what they'll think and the various different things. And once explaining that part of it, people can kind of, and what she did in that case was be able to step outside of herself, get a picture of oh, okay, this is how other people will see me. Now I want to make these tweaks and changes, right, in how I show up. And I think that's important because especially when it comes to branding and marketing, people treat their business like their baby. And so it's like, I want to give it this name and I want to pick these colors and I want my site to look like this. And I want this to be represented this way. And I want, all the things. And it's really much an internal, like you're looking at it from the inside out, because you want to make it your own thing. But there's psychology behind it, right? You really need to show up in a way that people can relate to it. And you want to draw the right people to your business.
Excellent. I could say a lot of things about that, but we're here to know you. So what's your unfair advantage, your superpower when you are at your best?
For me, my superpower is recognizing patterns and connecting dots. And I know that sounds like so.
CIA?
No, does I hope not. No, I was like this way before this guy.
Please go ahead.
But like I like puzzles, right? I love all kinds of type of puzzles and putting things together and making chaos make sense, right? And so I love structure. And it's like the things that, a lot of people don't like, right? They're just like, that's a mess. I don't want to deal with it. And for me, I'm like, ooh, structure, process. Like, let's put it together. Let's connect the dots. Let's identify what's missing here. Let's, bring it all together. And so my superpower really is like identifying patterns in any way. And so when people, come with like especially process issues or organizational issues, like I'm like, okay, I can pretty quickly figure out, what's going on and assess the situation and come up with, okay, here are the gaps and here's kind of what you need to, change or maneuver and restructure in order to fill those and bridge those gaps.
But one expression I kind of like about what you said is I make chaos make sense. I like that. It just stuck with me once you said it, and I think that would be something you could use.
Yeah, I know. I was like, let's trademark that. Nope.
Yeah. Nobody take that.
Nobody take that.
Yeah. All right. So who did it help the most? What kind of person is a perfect match for you right now?
Right now it's the people that are ready.
Okay.
You gotta be.
Who are the people ready? So what? Let me try and give you bigger context.
Okay.
For that question. Who is it that are you talking to people who are about to start their businesses? Are you talking about business owners who are trying to transition to another level? Or are you talking about, like people like you who are transitioning from, corporate into entrepreneurship? Like, it could be all of these people, by the way. But what I'm trying to draw out is who, if they heard you this moment, will be like, and you describe them like, hey, yeah, you're talking about me. And who would be that person?
Okay. I mean, I'd say, from a client profile standpoint, definitely, people that are starting their businesses and those that have established businesses, like they already have their business idea and they're really looking for that strategic business partner to say, help me think through this thing. Even those that are established business owners that have employees and they have their organization and things are in place, but it's not quite working right. And even amongst those client profiles, when I say ready, like they have to be ready for change. Like you know that where you are today is not where you want to be. And you know that it can be fixed, but you feel like you're carrying like the weight of the world on your shoulders. And there's so many moving parts. It feels chaotic, right? And you really just need that person to come in and be like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Help me make sense of it. This is what's happening in my organization, or this is what's happening in my business, or this is what I want my business to do. And I need someone to help me make sense of this and help me create a plan to move forward.
So, what was rolling in my head? I was like, you're the Accenture KPMG of small businesses.
Okay. There you go.
I could testify.
Well, we'll get like a quiet testimonial.
All right. So what's life like before someone works with you, and what's it like after?
I don't know. Okay, like, what do you mean by that?
They're like, hey, before I met you, actually, I think I can answer that for you. Before I met you in my business, it was all chaotic. Now I have structure, and because of that structure, I have growth. I like that.
I like that too. You sent me just that sentence.
uh, so yeah, I like that. So tell me about a customer win you're proud of.
A customer win I'm proud of?
A customer win you're proud
Oh
of.
my goodness. I'm proud of you.
Okay. Full disclosure, I'm her client, as well as she be my guest on the show.
That's right.
All right.
Win,
Win-win, right?
win.
So, good. Now I'm going to dig into that.
Okay.
What are you proud
Six
of that I
percent
have
of-
done?
I mean, it's exactly what you said. I love when, I'm talking to clients and I see the light bulb go off, right? I love inspiring, and then, just helping them make sense of like the situation, right? And so like you, like my other clients, and just saying, okay, here are some ways that we can solve this problem. Or did you think about this? What about this, right? And just watching like those light bulbs of inspiration, and then they take it and then run with it, which is good. So I like really good clients that are like ambitious and they're hungry and they really want to like get things done, but they're just like, I just need to move this obstacle out the way, or just someone to just help me think this through. And so that energizes me. I like that.
Did you hear that? I'm ambitious and I'm hungry. I'm hungry. Sorry. That's the most dramatic I've been throughout this conversation.
Yeah, it's true. Probably all week, right? Oh man.
Yeah,
Funny.
that's good. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, what's the simplest first step someone can take to get started with you?
Simplest first steps is go to my website, ericabourne.com, and book a free consultation.
All right. Could you spell that out, Erica Bourne?
Yes. Erica, Erica, Bourne. Yeah, like Jason Bourne, like the Bourne Identity. And I can't even say no really anymore.
So, like Erica Bourne, no relation of Jason Bourne, but ericabourne.com.
Yes.
Actually, we should put that in the title somewhere. No relation
No
of Jason.
relation. Yeah, we just had the same, prior employer, but other than that, no blood relation. Not that I know of.
No blood relation. Yeah. Oh man. So, what do you do differently than the typical option people default to? So, and I think the way I'll phrase this question for you is that if you understand how other strategists operate, what is there a difference in your approach, in how you understand how the industry operates and how you operate, that makes you stand out?
Yes.
Okay.
For one, I'm not a coach.
All right.
I don't do pep talks. But I think the biggest thing for me is I think big picture. So I help with vision, but then I also have a very analytical mindset. So I can break that down into tangible tasks. So I do both.
Nice. So where do strategies typically stay? Is it in the vision or is it in the action?
I think a lot prefer the visionary side of it. I think a lot of them like the bird's eye view level of like, let's figure this out in the direction we're going in, especially, from the CSO standpoint, like that C-suite level. It's what's the vision of the organization writ large? What's the 15, 20-year plan down the road? That type of thing. And it's fun, right? That's the fun thing to think of, like the big picture. But when you start breaking that down and decomposing it, that's when you have to also adjust the big picture, because you start figuring out things that you don't see when you're that far away, right? So it's important to do both, but I think most strategists stay at that visionary stage.
Nice. So give me 3 words you want customers to associate with you, or any listeners to associate with you.
Oh, wow.
If there are, I'm putting
3
you on the spot.
It is a spot. Okay, I will say strategy. Man, it's gotta be a word, not a frick. Need, and my last word would be momentum.
You like that? I can count. Strategy, need, momentum. I love it. So, it looks like we should end this conversation. And not to be dramatic, this was good conversation, just good stuff. And I hope it didn't feel like an interrogation.
I'm used to that. It's totally fun.
Just listen. But I say all to say that thank you for coming on the Loud and Forward podcast, and wish you all the best in your endeavors and with Erica Bourne Consulting.
That's right. Thanks for having me.
And that's a wrap on another conversation that goes beyond the business card. If this episode moved you, challenged you, or made you think, share with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Loud and Forward wherever you get podcasts, and please leave a review. It helps more people find the real stories shaping Loudoun County from the inside out. I'm Toye Oramosi. Until next time, keep building forward.
Like a battery, sound, to the red line.